And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Around the Bases with Bubba and Mo, episode 19. Moving quite along here this baseball season. We are actually past the halfway mark. But before we get too far into it, you can find me on Twitter at BDintric. And, of course, my co-host, Mo, you can find him on Twitter at Boston_Mo. Mo, how we doing?
We're doing well. Terrible 4th of July day, but let's keep it moving.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a week, baseball-wise, otherwise. Just glad we can finally get this in. And we got a lot to talk about since we've been around. The All-Star Game rosters have been revealed. Everyone's, got their interpretation of who's snubbed, who's not. I'm trying to pull up, as I just thought of it, the replacements just got named today for some guys. But all in all, what do you think are some of the bigger snubs in the American League?
Yeah, I didn't have too many problems with who they chose. I don't really understand. I guess it was probably a Francona decision to put Brantley in there. I mean, this is not the All-Star game, and it obviously doesn't matter anymore. Now that's not for home field in the World Series. But, it's not Comeback Player of the Year award in this game. So, I thought Lorenzo Cain and even Justin Upton, I thought they were having a better year than Brantley, even though he's been out. But other than that, in the American League, there really isn't, too many snubs. I mean, maybe Lomo, even though he's
sorry, I don't know what the fuck that is.
With the Gatorade mask.
Sorry, pulling up pages.
What a week! But no, I think Logan Morrison. I mean, I think he's pretty damn close to Yonder and Smoke. So there isn't much difference there. I didn't have too many in the American League that were snubs. I think just possibly not really sure why Brantley was in there. And then Lindor, I love him to death. He's hitting for a little bit of power, but even like Andrelton Simmons is having a decent year for himself. He's actually got a little bit of an average up there. And then I got a soft spot for Xander. I mean, if he hit probably 5 more homers, he's in there, but he's got him 50 points in average. And so the Lindor and Brantley one, I'm not really sure there, but there's not many snubs other than that in the AL.
No, and if my computer would participate with not fucking ads everywhere, this would be great. But snubs, I think, is kind of a tough term when you look at the All-Stars, because everyone's going to be just absolutely loaded when it comes down to it. But in the NL, you got – well, first, I wanted to say this much. You have some replacements that came in that just got announced today, so I'll do this first. The likes of Darvish, Fulmer, Kershaw, Kluber, Castro, Keuchel, Trout are out. And that gives replacements Archer, Cano, Davinsky, Kinsler, Upton, Osuna, and Wood. Wood was like my biggest snub. That was the one that kind of stood out the most to me. That guy has just been amazing, but he's taking Kershaw's spot, so that's perfect. If you look at the likes of, you can get picky and say Travis Shaw or Chris Bryant. Well, Chris Bryant had his chance on the vote and didn't get in. Chris Owings has had a hell of a year at shortstop, but in the grand scheme of things, Chris Owings really an all-star? Probably not, but if he got in, no big deal. In the outfield's where I see it more. I'm surprised Thames didn't get in just for what he's done, but he has been terrible. Well, not terrible, but really bad since that hot start. McCutchen is one that stood out to me. And Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce was the big one. We've talked about Bruce a few times on this podcast, and Bruce was the biggie for me that got snubbed. But all in all, it was pretty much Wood. And if you want to go another pitcher, Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom is a monster.
I was going to say Wood. There was way more in the NL than there was in the AL. I got a soft spot in my heart for Travis Shaw, so it's unfortunate that he's going up against Arenado and Jake Lamb and whatnot. But that third base in the NL, I mean, no Rendon, no Travis Shaw. I thought Jake Lamb's having a heck of a year. Travis Shaw has him in like every category, I think, except OBP. And not every category, but in 30 less plate appearances, he's only 6 RBIs back. He's 2 home runs back. He's got him in average. He doesn't have him in OBP, but but they're really, really close there. He's got him in slugging barely. So, I had a soft spot in my heart there for him, but definitely Alex Wood. I mean, it's just because he got hurt, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. He got hurt. and it kind of put him back a little bit. But as a whole, you really got to look at Wood, and I'm glad he got in. And maybe DeGrom gets a spot later. He's pitching tonight, Friday night, so he's technically allowed to play if he gets to fill a spot for someone else. So I could definitely see that in there. When we look at the starting 9, I am not a fan of the fan vote because I think a lot of guys get screwed. Personally, for the most part, I felt the fans did decent this year. Like, for once, it wasn't like 8 Royals and a Yankee, or it wasn't a bunch of Cubs. Heck, the Cubs, they didn't have one starter in the entire deal. So they only have one all-star, I believe, in the whole thing. So in the grand scheme of things, it was a lot better. What would be your starting 9, I guess 10 for the American League? What's your starting lineup?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Like you said, the fans kind of nailed it here. I mean, if Sanchez doesn't get hurt, then maybe he gets the nod over Salvi, but Salvador Perez has been unbelievable. Again, I guess I think Lomo gets it here in first base. So I think him and Smoke I think Smoke has him in average, but for the most part, Lomo has him in most other categories. So I think I would have given it to him. And then the same as they have Altuve, Ramirez, Correa, Trout if he doesn't get hurt, Judge, Springer, and your boy C-Dick, and then Sale starting the game. So I think for the most part, for the first time in a long time, Bubba, and it's funny that the game doesn't count now, so now they somehow get it right. They nailed it in the AL.
Yeah, it is funny that it finally doesn't count, and you said it. They nailed it. It's perfect. And you look at the National League. I pulled up the roster again without the audio noise, and it's amazing that just the Cubs. I wanted to bring that up again. Defending World Series champ. We've seen it year in and year out. Usually the defending champ or even the Cubs, just because they're popular, have a bunch of players. Their only guy is Wade Davis. That says a lot about the Cubs season. But they got it right. They got Posey, Zimmerman, Murphy, Arenado, Cozart, Blackman, Harper, Ozuna. Posey, I can't argue with. He's the best catcher in baseball, or one of the best. I know some people hate him because he's soft or whatever, but so be it. When it comes to the actual brass tacks of the game, he's pretty darn good. First base is just so loaded. You can't argue with what Zimmerman's done this year. He's been awesome. He's kind of slowed down, but he still hasn't slowed down as much as we've thought. We talked about that in past episodes. So he deserves the shot. If I had to go somewhere else, you look at Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's season's been ridiculous. The numbers he's put up. He could be 30-30 by the end of the year. He's going to be 20-20 easily. Crazy numbers from a first baseman. Daniel Murphy at second. I have no problem with that at all. Arenado at 30. He should be there every year for like the next 15 years if he plays that long. He's that good. Cozart at short. I really enjoyed that because he's put up a great year. I have no problem with him. Like I said, the only other shortstop, really, that's the one position in the National League that to me isn't that strong this year. So Cozart is there. I love what Blackman, Harper, and Ozuna, they're all potential MVP candidates. You really can't go wrong. Like I said, if you got McCutchen or Bruce, sure. But, I think they nailed it, and I have zero problem with what took place there.
Yeah, agreed. I probably would have went Votto starting at first, but like you said, Zimmerman's having a great year, so you can't really argue too much about it.
Yeah, I was gonna go. I would have gone Goldie over Zimmerman, but Votto. Yeah, Votto's numbers, just like Goldie, are insane, absolutely insane this year. It's the thing though. Like third base, first base are just loaded. You're gonna have guys miss it every year, and people are just have to take that and just it is what it is. It's how it was, when we were growing up, Mo. That it was always just loaded, and now it's finally back. There's a lot of younger guys, first timers, a lot of foreign players. That's been a big thing. What's kind of your takeaway from the overall rosters? Like, is there any one thing you're really looking forward to in this game?
Well, I kind of love it. I love the young guys. I mean, we talk about it all the time in terms of we love prospects. We love the young guys coming up. And you just get that. I mean, sucks Trout's not going to be there. I mean, he's great to watch. I mean, he's not a polarizing personality. Like we've talked about before, who's the next guy? Who's the next, guy they're going to market everything after? We said Bryce Harper. Now we got, Cody Bellinger. We've got Sanchez. Sano's finally there. Judge, obviously, Betts. I mean, the next crop of young baseball players are coming in, and they're coming fast. I mean, it's ridiculous. You think of the amount of great shortstops, young shortstops we have. I mean, now outfielders, Trout, Judge, Springer, Betts, and, Springer's, 28 or whatever he is now, but still relatively young. I mean, last year we're talking about Ortiz, year before that we had Jeter, and we kind of pushing those older guys away. And even in a way, even though he's like 33, 34, Miguel Cabrera, he's kind of, injuries are popping up now because he's been playing baseball since he was 19. So it's a great thing for baseball. It's a great thing for us in terms of, daily fantasy and season-long fantasy and watching the games. It's just people that you want to watch all the time, no matter what time the game's at, no matter how long it takes. Because, I have to watch the Red Sox games that are 4 hours long. It's just sometimes it's painful. But when you get to see Betts making plays, Benintendi, Jackie Bradley, Xander, all these young guys for my team when they're long games, it's still fun to watch for me. But I just think it's a great thing, and it's kind of trending up in terms of young players and watchability of all the baseball games.
Yeah, I like that factor. The youth movement in baseball, like you said, we talk about it a lot. And what I like, at least looking at the National League side of things, even the veterans aren't that old. Like you have a few, right. Of course. You have Zimmerman, you have Scherzer, and a couple others, but they're not even that old. Like just picturing it, it might not happen, but you watch the NBA dunk contest and they're all having fun and they're freaking like, oh wow, shit like that. Can you picture the youth of these guys? We'll get our foreign flair like we talked about with the World Baseball Classic, the youth. That home run derby is going to be one of the funnest ones I've seen in a long time, regardless of the outcome. Those guys are going to have a blast because there's like kids enjoying baseball.
Yep.
That part's going to be great. I like how the fans and then even the players, because if people don't know how the rosters are made, the fans vote, then the players pick, I think, like 3/4 of the reserves or something like that. So they have a huge impact on this. And if you look at the rosters, they definitely paid attention to guys that are having great years and on teams like competing well. The Rockies have 3 or 4 guys. The frickin' Diamondbacks have Goldschmidt, Lamb, Greinke, and Robbie Ray. They have 4 All-Stars. Can you remember the last time the D-backs had 4 All-Stars in a game? Because I can't.
When they won the World Series.
Yeah, so that was what, 01?
Yeah.
like it's amazing for the game because now they're getting to see these faces. We get to see Judge, Bellinger, guys we've wanted to see so bad on the same field now. You get to see all this stuff that it's great, and the nucleus should be around for a long time. We should get to enjoy this for a while. So I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And I usually don't really care about watching the All-Star game, but I'm going to tune in for this one because this has, like I said, a ton of great kind of storylines that could develop through it. One last thing before we get to that home run derby that should be a blast. Did you happen to see Kenley Jansen's comments about Justin Turner not making the original All-Star team?
Yeah, he basically blamed the fans, for not voting and whatnot, which he's not wrong. And then I kind of went on the Dodgers Twitter sphere and kind of just searched for whatever I could, Kenley's name, Dodgers, Turner, whatever I could. And it was funny that they were basically blaming like the Dodgers and the cable company because half the people can't watch it down there apparently. I don't know. I guess it's a big cable dispute, and I'm pretty sure I knew about that, but I thought that was all done when they had the new ownership, and apparently it's not. So I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, if they can't really go after Kenley, what are they going to be like? Oh my God, Kenley, you suck for saying we suck for not voting someone in an All-Star game. Like it's kind of stupid on both sides, but I mean, hey, you don't see this very often in baseball where your guy speaks up against the fans.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it that he spoke up. And then it was great when Turner got the final vote. He won the final vote if no one paid attention. He had the most votes by far in the history of the final vote. And Kenley was out there on Twitter tweeting out like, hey, it was a great tweet. I think it was like that yesterday morning, the morning of. He basically says, okay, it's time for the closer to come in, get your votes in. It was cool. Like he played a part, but he's 100% correct. I guess the fans are correct that they can't watch it on TV, but if you're a fan that's going to vote anyways, do you have to watch every game on TV? Probably not.
Right.
So the dispute's garbage. That's just people being so fickle about cash. A team that already spends more money than almost anybody in baseball, and it's like probably pennies on the dollar type deal. It's just stupid. But that shouldn't be your excuse. I love what Kinley did. I wish more teams would do that, but it was phenomenal. Really good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. So now to the home run derby. You know, a lot of kind of storylines here. We'll get to a few of them, but Bubba, let's go ahead and just go at it. Okay, so I'll give the quick bracket here. 1 versus 8, Giancarlo, Gary Sanchez. 4 versus 5, Moose versus Sano. 3 versus 6, Bellinger versus Blackman. 2 versus 7, Judge versus Justin Bour, which I was kind of excited about that he got in, especially with it being in Miami. I'm not sure he would have gotten in if it was in Miami, if it wasn't in Miami. I guess we don't have to go. It's up to you where you want to go. You can go pick everything, or let's just go to the finals. Let's see what you got for it.
Yeah, let's do it real quick. I got Stanton over Sanchez, Sano over Moose, Bellinger over Blackman, and Judge over Bour, and then Stanton versus Judge in the final, which is – I'm just being petty because that's what everybody wants to see. Now, if people have watched home run derbies, if you haven't had experience in it or you're young, they usually falter. So it wouldn't surprise me if a guy like Charlie Blackman and Stanton should win. And I got Stanton beating Judge in the finals.
Yeah, I almost had the same thing, but I went a little bit. I have a different theory on this one here, so I'll go quick. Stanton over Sanchez, Sano over Moose, and then Stanton beats Sano. Down the bottom, I got Blackman over Bellinger, and I have Bour over Judge. I think that the Yankees brass is going to tell him to just relax. I don't know what it is in my head that makes me thinking that. I think it was tough for them to let him go anyway. So I think they're just going to tell him, just don't ruin yourself. Try to get there. And I think there's something about, I think Bour is going to home park. I think it's going to be the two Marlins playing each other with Stanton winning it ultimately. So that's what I got for the home run derby there.
Yeah, it's as long as Stanton wins, we know we'll get a great show, and I'm all for that.
Yeah, I agree. The one disappointment that I think me and you both had was Joey Gallo said no. And his comments were, I want to focus on my swing. And my all-around game, I think, was the quote that he used. Mm-hmm. What all-around game, Bubba?
Apparently, he wants to keep hitting all around $190 because that's all he's doing. And trust me, Joey, an uppercut swing like you have isn't going to get affected by the Derby. All you're going to do is gain more fans, which sells more stuff for the Rangers, which might, when it comes to making big decisions, keep you around a little longer. Just a thought. But he would have been – he's perfect. The Derby is made for guys like Joey Gallo.
Yep.
He's a future beer league softball player playing baseball right now because he can hit a fastball. This is what he needs to be doing. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, when I saw that, it was pretty crazy. I couldn't believe it because I really wanted him in there. Obviously, before the home run derby, it was like, okay, most home runs in the league, and that's where we were as with advanced statistics and whatnot. Now it's StatCast, it's exit velocity, it's distance, it's everything. So, and that brings us into the Lomo comments. In case you don't know who that is, Logan Morrison. Nothing crazy here. He just basically said, hey, Sanchez is a great player. I deserve to be there, but I play for Tampa, a small market, so I get what they probably doing what they're doing. What do you got on his comments? He's always kind of been a quote unquote clown, but now he's kind of putting it all together.
Yeah, I love him on the field. I think he's actually a really good ball player. I would love him to be on my team. I think the way he plays, excuse my language, the assholeness that he brings to the field, I would love in my locker room. I would not want to be against him. I would hate him with a passion. And he shows it in this whole thing of how he basically turns into a crybaby. I get his point. I want to mention one thing. So Gallo, Eric Thames, Bryce Harper, Joey Votto, Chris Bryant, Carlos Correa, George Springer, and Justin Smoke, I found at least all those names all said no to the Derby. So Lomo, let me mention one thing to you. You wouldn't have passed any of them either. And Justin Bohr, as much as I love him, he wouldn't be there. Like, these names all missed it. So it's all fine and dandy, but Lomo needs to just relax. It's Gary Sanchez had nothing to do with it. Gary Sanchez's comments were great. Like, hey, they just invited me. I said, yes. What do you want me to do? It's like he said, getting 2 Yankees in the Derby, that's called eyes to the television. If, say, a round of Lomo versus Bohr came on, can you imagine how fast the ratings would drop on that TV for like 5 minutes? It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
It would just plummet. I do see why he's mad, though. He's had an amazing year. He could hit bombs. And he used to play for the Marlins. He had one of his best years with the Marlins, and now he's in Tampa, so he's a Florida team. I get it, because it does suck. Out of the 8 players, you got 2 Yankees and 2 Marlins. Half the thing is made up by 2 teams. It's like, come on, guys. Let's spread it out a little bit. We just got done talking about how the rosters are so diverse with other teams. Let's mix it up a little. But when you have so many guys saying no, I get it. I see Lomo's beef. He just needs to shut his mouth.
Well, he's third in the league and tied for third in the league in homers, the entire league, not just the AL. So that's what he's really focusing on. But again, you know, when you look at the StatCast numbers in terms of exit velocity and distance, I mean, Gary's got him by a good amount on both. So, you know, I understand. I mean, I don't, even as a Red Sox Rays, he hasn't really done anything, you know, stupid for me to hate him. I know he's had like a Twitter game before. I think he's kind of calmed that down a little bit. Yeah, it is what it is. He's and it's not a market thing either. I think it's a marketability thing for him. It's not because he plays for Tampa. I mean, I'm pretty sure Longoria has been in a home run derby before. I mean, at least one. I didn't check it, but he's had to have been at least one. Now, last thing for the home run derby, and people worry about it, I kind of alluded to it a little bit. You know, some execs and, you know, scouts and everyone thinks you ruin your swing, you get tired. Second half regression, do you think this is a real thing? Is it for everyone, for some people?
I think it's a joke. If you think about it, most of these guys that have had quote unquote career years already, or are you just in the derby period? It's called natural regression. You can't be having like these kind of numbers for so long, like Lomo. Look at his second half stats. I guarantee you they're going to regress too. He's not even in the derby. It's not going to affect most of these guys at all. We know Aaron Judge is not going to be the Aaron Judge in the second half. Still might be great, but not this great. Bellinger, like there's a few guys like Stanton you expect to be pretty close. Blackman, but he's still going to regress. His numbers are crazy. It's just natural regression. I think it's a joke.
Yeah, I think it's a joke too. I can't wait to see people say it about Cody Bellinger. I really can't wait to see that, even though he's just been – he's gone too fast. Like, we knew he was going to be a good player. We knew he had the potential to be a stud, but he's moving too fast. So I don't want to see people when he in the middle of August, if he instead of batting 256, he's batting 236, you know, with only 27 homers instead of 24. I don't want to see that, because he's going to regress. Like, that's what I've talked about the last couple of episodes when we talked about him. I own many shares of him in season long. And I'm trying to figure out what to do. And can I pull off some blockbuster where I get something amazing and just because I can't keep him. And that's just what it is. So it's one of those things. I don't want to see that from anybody.
Yeah, and those Dodger fans are going to have a rude awakening, because all they do is remember Jock Jams, who put on a show in the Derby, and then this is like the first stretch where he's back to normal. It's been a while. So he plummeted big time, but that's not because of the Derby. That's because all he could do was hit a fastball. It's just the way baseball works. But let's take it to your backyard. It seems like we don't even intend to bring up David Price. It's not even on purpose. Like, it's not a cruel joke I play on my co-host here. This is actually his idea. It's not my goal to bring up David Price news, but David Price has just becomes the biggest peckerhead every week when it comes to the media. And the latest one is he got in an argument with Dennis Eckersley, one of the gnarliest guys that ever pitched in baseball. Mo, fill us in on what the heck is going on here.
All right, so David Price last week. So basically Jerry Remy had his cancer came back. So he had surgery to remove some cancerous tumor inside of him, and he'll be back within a month or so. So basically it's a kind of Eckersley is doing it, and Steve Psycho Lyons, who I hate, but that's beside the fact. So Eckersley's been doing most of the games now with Dave O'Brien. And he's known to just tell it how it is. And players think that it's like a club that they're supposed to adhere to, that they can't say anything because they've played before and they know what it's like. So basically, one of his starts, a couple starts ago, Price just forgot to cover the base. He forgot to cover first base on a ground ball to the right side. So that was funny, but it wasn't even about that. They talked about Eduardo Rodriguez's rehab start, and it was awful. So all X said was yuck. That's all he said. Could mean like, oh, that stinks, like he didn't pitch well, whatever. And apparently David Price tried to just went up to him like, you know what it's like. Now let me fill you in on Dennis Eckersley, folks. When he let up the home run to Kirk Gibson, okay, one of the most famous home runs in baseball history, he was at his locker for as long as you wanted him to, answered every question. It's on me. When he let up 7 runs in a game, or someone made an error on him and then he did this, he did that, he said, no, it's not on them, it's on me. I threw the ball first. I have to get the guys out. So that was his career. He was always the one that took the blame for everything, okay? But this clown, David Price, wants to argue with him and say you can't talk about players like that. Like, dude, it's not even – he didn't even say anything that outlandish. It's unbelievable how much the city is in his head. Like, he should have signed with St. Louis. I'm not gonna bore you on anything else. Everyone knows how I feel if they listen to this podcast every time. Hopefully he opts out next year and I can get rid of, because it is unbelievable. Why can't you just be Chris Sale? I'm not even talking about pitching wise. I mean, like, just take the heat and shut up and get off social media and just pitch, dude. Like, stop this crap. He's such. Oh, I guess that's it. That's my couple minutes I told you I wanted. Okay, I can't even speak anymore.
Yeah.
I love how you just go, okay, yep, okay.
Well, now I have nothing else to say. You hit it all.
I know. It's just like a slow pause, and then, yep, okay. Dave Roberts, Andy Green scuffle. I know we're recording late, so that happened, about a week ago or so. What do you got on this? I enjoyed watching that video. Dave Roberts was heated.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because you rarely ever see two managers go at it. B, it was really interesting to me because it seemed like they're kind of walking away, and it all stemmed from like Green was calling out, or Alex Wood was saying, "Hey, the Padres are stealing signs." So Dave Roberts gets pissed, pisses Andy Green off. Then some more stuff happened, and eventually, here they go to words. But if you watch the video, Dave Roberts is about to leave. I want to know what Andy Green said. I haven't seen it. Maybe it's out there somewhere. He says something, and David Roberts just turns, and it was on. It was great. And the best part about it was the guy on the front steps for the Brewers. I mean, kind of all over the Padres. Mark McGwire was right there ready to go. It was priceless. I kind of wish they would have let him go because, watching two managers go at it would be great. David Roberts, of course, goes to the other dugout and just sits there, goes up like, I'm ready anytime. It was a little schoolyardy, but it was entertaining. And honestly, since we can't really have good arguments with the umpires anymore, and we don't want to see guys getting beamed for stuff, let's see the managers go at it. I have no problem with this. This is kind of fun.
Yeah, I completely forgot that McGwire was a hitting coach for the Padres, to be honest with you. And then another wrinkle, I think, and who knows what he said, but it really isn't a dig. But I'm pretty sure Roberts was the acting manager for when Bud Black got fired, and maybe I got the timeline wrong, and maybe it was the other guy, but that's neither here nor there. But one thing I did want to mention before we get to the awards, Bubba, is for the All-Star game, it came out today that Tito Francona, my guy, okay, my favorite manager of all time, is having like a cardiac surgery, quick surgery. He's not going to manage the All-Star game. He's supposedly going to be back in a week, which is a great thing, which means it's not a huge deal, but never a good thing when, you got heart problems. And that's something that I'm sure he'll have to look out for. And hopefully he won't have to retire early because of it, because you know it, and I know, and everyone knows that follows me on Twitter. I love that man. That man is one of the greatest managers, in my opinion, for the Red Sox. He just does it right. So I just wanted to mention that for the All-Star game stuff.
Yeah, no, we hope everything's good with him. Recovery, because the heart thing is no joke. Like you said, they say should be pretty minor, be back in a week or so. Bochy had similar issues lately. He had spent some time in the hospital. He didn't have to have surgery, but he was down for a few games because of, like a heartbeat was getting weird and stuff. The people don't understand, like the players, sure, they play their game. They come and take, the batting practice and everything. But these managers, the time they put in, the stress they put in, it's crazy what they have to go through. Plus, most of them played baseball their whole career already.
Right.
So they partied and drank, and most of these guys played in the era where they did party and drink and then go play baseball. So it's like these guys are beat up, and then the stress level on top of it. Yeah, hopefully everything goes well with Tito. I know you love him. I think I mentioned here, Pedroia has talked about how much of like the best guy in the world Tito is. It's just the best manager a guy could play for. Yep. So, yeah, nothing but good things his way. And the way the Indians are playing, he's going to come back, and they're going to hopefully be in first place by then because their offense is clicking, and everything will be just fine for Tito.
Sure.
Let's take it away. Everyone likes to do their first half awards probably next week because it's the All-Star break. But no, here at Around the Bases, we do them this week because if you can do math, which most of the time I can't on this podcast,
I can.
This past Sunday was the actual halfway mark of the season. So we're going to get into the first half awards. And Mo, kick us off with your AL MVP.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's really no contest here with Aaron Judge. I mean, he's just been amazing. I wish Trout was healthy, because it would be an incredible race because Trout was going off at the beginning of the year. But yeah, I got Aaron Judge is an easy AL MVP right now.
Can't argue that at all. When we go to the NL, I kind of prefaced it in the All-Stars. I'm going Goldschmidt for now. For the main facts, like I say, he's already got 13 steals to go with his 19 homers. There is an outside shot of 30-30, which is insane these days, especially from your cleanup hitter that plays a corner infield spot. He's going 25-25 for sure. Well, maybe not for sure, but I think so. And the reason I have him over the likes of Votto is because without Goldschmidt, Arizona's not competing for postseason opportunities. That's the basis for what I have going on. What they've done this season has been amazing. Harper, Ozuna, Blackman all deserve acknowledgments, and that's why they're starting in the All-Star game. But for me, it's Goldschmidt, and obviously it can change by the end of the season. But first half, Goldschmidt.
Agreed. AL Rookie of the Year again. I mean, we'll go back and look at our preseason later, but it's Aaron Judge again. I mean, he's going to sweep it. He's already won it. Benintendi would have to hit like 20 homers in the second half to even come close, and it's just not happening. So, yeah, Aaron Judge is the Rookie of the Year in the AL. It's easy.
Yeah, pretty much a no-brainer, like you're saying. Mine, same thing, pretty freaking easy. When you're leading the National League in home runs and you've only played 67 games and your name's Cody Bellinger, you deserve it. He's only hitting 258, which I wish was better, but as a whole, there's no one even close to Cody, in my opinion. I looked at some other options, and you're really grasping at straws. At least in the AL, there's some other guys that are kind of producing. The National League, it's pretty much Cody and not much else.
Yeah, it's that he's came on strong there. It's crazy. Best team in the AL, not named the Houston Astros, so because obviously they've been ridiculous in the first half. And hey, got to go with my Boston Red Sox. I mean, and not because they have the second best record. I do think they're the second best team in the AL because I'm not sure. Cleveland will get there, but for right now, they are the second best team in the AL behind the Astros. The Sale's been amazing. Kimbrel's been amazing. Cleveland will probably, get there, but will the starting pitching? Because Carrasco's been kind of all over the place. Kluber's been amazing. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be a fascinating thing if him and Sale keep up what they're doing through the playoffs.
Yep, no doubt about it. In the National League, the best team to me, and you can go where you want. This one hurts me because it's your team. I'm going to Los Angeles Dodgers. The Nats have been more than impressive. But when you look at the Dodgers, what they've done since Cody's come up and just overall the month of June by itself, it's been very impressive. They're starting to run away with things. It was like a 3-team race, I think, when we looked at stuff like a month ago, and now they're going to probably win this division by 15 plus games the way they're going. I think Arizona might keep it close, but if Arizona can't, they're going to blow the doors off this division. The Dodgers take it for me.
Yeah, that's my team. That's my team. You know that most surprising player in the AL, it's Lomo. We talked about him earlier. You could have went with a few different guys, and I kind of do this to throw it in the Yankees' face because they chose Chris Carter over him, and they paid Chris Carter $500K more, and he's just got demoted. So, not that they chose him over him. Obviously, Greg Bird, Chris Carter was there to hit lefties. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there for them. He's got already more home runs than he's ever had in the majors. 23 back in 2011. That was in a whole season. So he's had a great season for the Rays, and obviously he'd probably regress a little bit, but he's having a great season for Tampa.
Yep. In the National League, I couldn't pick just one, but you either give it to Ryan Zimmerman, who we've already mentioned has been absolutely amazing, hitting well over 300, hitting with power. Tons to like about Zim, but the guy I'd probably lean to a little more if you had to pick just one, Alex Wood. We talked about him for the All-Star snubs. Now that he's on the roster, when you're 10-0 with a 1.67 ERA and you have 97 Ks and 80 and 2/3 innings pitched, that is just filthy. He's been injured off and on, but when he's out there pitching, like watching him the other night on MLB Network when they were facing the D-backs, it was filthy what he was doing out there. That's another reason, not just Bellinger. Everyone talks Bellinger with the Dodgers, but guys like Wood to match up with Kershaw. Now you have 2 games in a potential series where you're in a lot of trouble. So Wood is my surprising player.
I like it. Most disappointing player in the AL. This one was pretty easy for me, Manny Machado. It's just been, I'm still going to buy on him and going to try to buy on him. But still got 16 homers. So, he's not on a 37 homer-ish pace. He's close to it. But K rate's up, from the last couple of years, not too much, but ISO's down, BABIP's way down. His average is 70 points worse than last year. OBP's 60 points worse. Slugging is like 120 points worse. So it's the whole Orioles offense is kind of out of sync this year for the most part. Trumbo's he's been okay a little bit lately. Davis has been hurt. But Manny Machado, most disappointing player in the AL for this year.
Yeah, my NL disappointment, and we'll go into this more next week because I do remember he was my home run champion. We're talking Trevor Story, who has been horrible. He was injured.
I forgot.
What was that?
I forgot about that.
Oh man, yeah, that was my off the wall trying to be clever home run choice, and he'd have to have a better second half than he'd have to combine for what Judge and Bellinger did in the first half. He has 11 homers, which actually is not a bad start if he's going to go for a run. But when you're hitting 223 and it's just watching his at bats are bad. He's not even an everyday player for them anymore. They're putting guys like Alexi Amarista and Pat Valleca in the lineup over you. When coming into the season, you were like their 4-5 hitter with tons of power and their new stud shortstop. When you got the Rockies already going, can Brendan Rodgers come up any faster? That's not good. So Trevor Story is my disappointing player.
Most surprising team in the AL, and I could have chosen a few different teams. I chose the Kansas City Royals, and the reason for that is, they were way down. We had them like making trades at the beginning of June almost. Like we were. I was just done with them, and they've done it without Duffy for most of it. Them coming back, which is even more insane. Vargas has been awesome for them. Kennedy's been good as of late. Hamill's been fine. And then they've had a few different starts from Strom and a couple others that have kind of surprised. And then, Moose has kind of taken off. Kane's taken off. Hosmer. So I mean, that's my most surprising team and really most intriguing team coming up in the next month.
Yeah, we're definitely going to dig more into them next week after when we talk some trade deadline stuff and everything, because last week we said, they need to deal no matter what, and they had an amazing week again. They're actually making like serious contention all of a sudden. So they're a game out of first. Like they're in a wild card right now. It's hard to actually say trade. It's bad. But in the National League, Arizona and Colorado, amazing, kind of out of nowhere, but at least they have talent. The surprising team for me, and it's hard to argue this, is the Milwaukee Brewers. We've talked about them. They are 4.5 games up on the Cubs, who are in second place. They're like 6.5 up in the wild card, 3 up in the wild card if they have to go that route. But 48-40, they pretty much led the Central all season long. This was supposed to be a rebuild. They're doing it well. They might end up keeping Braun now instead of trading him. I would trade him just because you need to stay focused on what you have going here. But, man, they've got, Chase Anderson of the DL, which we'll talk about. He was being, just phenomenal on the mound. Jimmy Nelson, Slippin' Jimmy, all of a sudden you can't really even say Slippin' Jimmy because he's actually pitching really well. Milwaukee is just a shock to me.
Junior Guerrero is their ace, and then all of a sudden, like you said, Jimmy Nelson, the unfortunate news of Chase Anderson, he's been good. He's been great. And that's just crazy. Yeah, they're not even doing it with any of the rebuild. I mean, they robbed us in the Travis Shaw trade. I love watching that team because they've got so much talent coming from the minors too. My most disappointing team, I could have went with a few different teams, especially a couple teams that I picked to go in the playoffs. But I actually went with the Detroit Tigers because, in a suck division, okay, granted, Kansas City and Minnesota are, 3-4 games above 500, and Chicago had a good start. But overall, that's a suck division other than Cleveland. It really is. They decided to go one more year of this when in reality they probably should have just rebuilt it in the offseason and then they'd be ahead of schedule here. But yeah, it's not good for them. They've I believe they're 38-46. 7 games out of first. They're right next to Chicago. I could go on and on about them, and I'm sure we'll be talking about them too, but they're my most disappointing team in the AL.
Mine's easy. They reside about 2 hours away from me. The San Francisco Giants. It's horrific. Most teams at the bottom of their divisions are rebuilding teams. That's not the Giants. The Padres have a better record than the Giants right now. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I seem to talk about it every episode, so you pretty much know my thoughts on them. But the Giants are by far my most disappointing team in the National League.
Mine is the Mets.
I could see that, and if you want to get really weird, the Cubs have disappointed me tremendously.
Yeah, so there's a lot more disappointments. It seems, or almost.
Well, and it makes sense because we had that episode a few back where we looked at how tight the division races are in the AL, but then in the National League, it's like, what? it's different. Very bad. Very bad.
Yep.
All right, let's get into something we really, really like. We talk prospects a lot, so our prospect segment will be a little different this week. The Futures Game is this Sunday, and the Futures Game is always fun. You got triple A's, double A's, all throughout the ranks, usually higher up, but even some single A guys make the mix. World versus the U.S., so you have players from your team on both teams. It's really cool. But this year's rosters, the Futures Games rosters, are absolutely loaded. It could be potentially better than the All-Star Game because these kids will actually take it seriously compared to the All-Star Game. This has the makings of an awesome game. What are some of the things you're looking forward to in this one, Mo?
Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, if you look at the rosters and some of the great posters, you can find it on Fangraphs, is they kind of give a projected WAR of them, and it kind of lists them basically by not maybe in terms of the top 100, but just look at the top. I mean, you look at Team USA roster. I'll just name the first three or four that I just can see. And it's Brett Honeywell, the Rays, right-handed pitcher. Talked about him very often. Brendan Rodgers, that's our man crush right now. my guy Kyle Tucker that I say is in every trade for Houston. And then, we've talked about Bo Bichette. Kopech is the guy from that Red Sox traded in the sale deal. And then just to name a few, I mean, you got Vlad Jr. on the Team World, Moncada, Devers, Amin Rosario. It's just all these guys, all these names. It's just absolutely loaded every year, and interesting to see, the trajectory of a few of these guys. Like Derek Fisher's on Team USA roster; he's already been up. So I would guess we'd see many of these guys very, very soon.
Yeah, they flat out said already that there's probably 5 or 6 guys on here that these pro teams have already called up. But when this roster was announced, like, okay, we'll let them have this because it might be really good for them. And then I wouldn't be shocked before the second half even starts, because we don't start till like Friday of next week. You get some of these call-ups. It would not shock me at all. But yeah, you named it. I could spend all day talking about these rosters because it is ridiculous. You mentioned Honeywell, Rogers, Tucker. Like you said, Bo Bichette is a monster. Kopech. AJ Puck, he's in AA now for Oakland. I saw him when he was playing for Stockton when he came to San Jose. That kid is impressive. He was drafted last year, and he's already up in AA. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets to AAA. Nick Gordon for Minnesota. He'll be playing shortstop really soon for them. That's one to keep an eye on. Chance Cisco, the catcher for Baltimore. They're always struggling to find a consistent catcher there. This kid is good, really good. Like I said, it can go on and on and on with them. I want to see Duplantier, D-backs pitcher. He's a single-A guy. You got Brian Reynolds from the Giants, single-A San Jose. I get to watch him. I'm going again this Saturday. He has an amazing stick. It's amazing what he can do. And then the world team is just, my goodness. Like Guerrero Jr., Moncada, who you love, Devers and Moncada both could be up right now. Ahmed Rosario, maybe the Mets should call him up. We've talked about that, 45 times? But some I want people to keep an eye on. Victor Robles, outfielder for the Nationals. This kid is the guy that's going to walk in, and the word replace Bryce Harper is not correct, but if anybody can from a prospect level, he's one of them. The kid's power is ridiculous, but he's not going to be. It's going to be really hard to find another Bryce Harper, basically. Like Ronald Acuna for the Braves. The list goes on and on and on. Like I said, I could talk all day about these prospects, but it's going to be awesome. Must-see TV, in my opinion, if you're a baseball fan.
Yeah, just a couple things to mention on a few of these guys. You look at the amount of guys that Milwaukee has in there. I believe, they only have, I think, 3, but they literally acquired or drafted all of them in the last year. So that they're in first place right now. So we're talking Corey Ray, they drafted last year. In the top 5. Brinson, they got, I believe, in the Lucroy deal.
And he's already been up once this year.
Yeah, he's already been up once. And then Mauricio Dubon, who they got him with Travis Shaw in the Thornburg deal. And I basically said, you know what? This guy is basically, he's Jose Iglesias 2.0. He's not going to hit, he's not going to hit for any power. He's got decent average for the most part, like, 306, AA last year, 339. Brewers, this year he's 276 average, stole 31 bases. So if he can figure out a way to get on base, maybe he can be a 50 steal guy. He's very good defensively. So I guess he's like a Jose Iglesias 2.0, except he's a little bit faster and maybe can get on base a little bit more. So they've done a great job here. And then you have the trade bait, which is Alex Vertigo for the Dodgers. You have Eloy Jimenez for the Cubs. And then the guy you just said, Robles, for the Nationals. Those 3 guys may not be in those organizations by the trade deadline. They just won't. And then maybe Kyle Tucker as well. So those 4 guys are the 4 that I'm watching out for to be trade bait in big, big deals.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. The more you kept talking, I kept looking through this roster and salivating. But if you wonder why Jose De Leon went to Tampa Bay and why losing Urias is a big deal, but they're not like deathly sad about it to the extent that they hope he'll come back. They have a kid named Yadier Alvarez who's going to be pitching. He might be better than all of them. So he's in this game. You're going to get to see him. Most probably don't even know who he is. This kid's amazing. Padres have a couple guys. If you want to think rebuild, though, they'll have more next year or the year after. Most of their guys are like single A guys, rookie league. But they got it's crazy. Like I said, I can go on and on with this, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, if you want a guy, Ryan McMahon from Colorado, he plays everywhere in the infield. He was the minor league player of the month this last month. He was hitting home runs almost every game, it felt like. So tons to enjoy.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So yeah, I'm excited to hopefully I'll be able to catch that one. I try to do it every year. And one last thing on it. Brendan Rodgers going up to Double-A. He's only in Hartford, which is like 2.5 hours away from me. He's playing Portland soon, so I'm hoping to get out to either up to Portland or down to Hartford to catch a game to watch him. But I'll have to catch the schedule and hopefully be able to see him and maybe parlay it into a couple other guys. But yeah, we love prospects. It's a fun time of year because they'll be called up pretty soon. The DL news, AL DL news, real quick. Yankees, couple of them. Tyler Austin, who's one of their prospects, hamstring injury, and then the devastating one in literally his first game, first inning. It was awful. Dustin Fowler in Chicago, running in right field to try to get a ball near the wall, and he slid. His knee buckled, and it just not a good break. He's out months. So hopefully he'll be ready for spring training next year. But to not even get his first at bat and a chance, I mean, if you go look at the video, it's terrible. And Joe Girardi was almost like crying because he couldn't believe that it would happen. But that's a tough one there. Daniel Norris for the Tigers, groin injury, probably out a month or so. They're going to see what happens. And then Jarrell Cotton for the A's, thumb injury. And that's your ALDL news.
Yeah, we'll go to the National League. It's a little deeper, but not too bad, actually. Chase Anderson, we mentioned earlier, left with an oblique injury. It occurred while swinging. This is more people that want the DH. Here you go. Was having a great year, 2.92 ERA, which is 10th best in the league. But with the oblique injuries, they don't really have a time frame, and they say this one's pretty severe. So they're thinking he's out for quite some time. The way they phrase it, facing a long absence. So that might hurt the Brew Crew's chance. Michael Conforto, because the Mets medical team is so good. It took like 6 days of not playing with an injury to put him on the DL. So he's on the DL. It's retroactive. He already started his rehab on Thursday. He could be back by this week, but if they're smart, they wait till after the All-Star break. But that's a key word, if the Mets are smart. So we'll see how that goes. And then Robert Gesellman of the Mets left with a hamstring injury while trying to beat out a ground ball. More reason for the DH for those argument people. No timetable for him. One of the really sad ones for baseball fans, the kid was turning it on and crushing it. Trey Turner out with a fractured wrist on a hit by pitch from a 96-mile-an-hour fastball from Pedro Strop. No timetable for him. It's going to be a few months easily. John Lackey to the DL of plantar fasciitis. He's supposed to be back after the All-Star break with the long time off. Shouldn't miss time at all. And while he was put on the DL, Kyle Schwarber came up in his place. Keep an eye on that. And last but not least, Devin Mesoraco of the Reds, left shoulder strain. They're hoping it's not too bad, and to make people feel better, it has nothing to do with the shoulder injury that kept him out almost all of last year. That's your NL DL news.
Yeah, just to go off that Trey Turner, it seems like, I know it happens in baseball where guys get hit and they get hurt and break wrists and fingers and whatnot. But it seems like it's happening a lot more to stars this year. I mean, it happened to Travis Shaw last week. Not that he's a star, but he's having an all-star year. He luckily was okay. It happened to Correa. Well, Correa, he slid in, whatever. But it happened to Xander last night. He's day-to-day. Luckily, there's no break there. It seems like it's happening to stars, and obviously it happened to Freddie Freeman earlier. Again, what to watch for, and great is really good right there. Good stuff. Milwaukee Brewers at the Yankees this weekend. Again, we're taping a little bit late this week because of the 4th. here's what you got for matchups, Bubba. We got Jordan Montgomery versus Junior Guerra. You got Severino versus Suter. Tanaka versus Jimmy Nelson. I'm going to lead this with you. What do you got on this series?
I just think it's really interesting for the fact that you got the Brewers trying to hang on, and you got the Yankees who have been faltering, and it's in Yankee Stadium, which they've obviously played a much, much better baseball there. Tanaka seems to have been turning it around. I think it makes for a very interesting series because if the Brew Crew could go in there and take a couple games, well, hell, that changes my opinion of them even more, which I didn't think was possible. But Guerra's bad. Suter's making his basically second start. He was outstanding in his first one, second or third. He was outstanding last time out. But Yankee Stadium's a different beast, as we know. Montgomery's going tonight, so we'll have to see who the Friday guy is unless he got pushed back. I thought Montgomery was on tonight, so I'll have to check that out.
He's going tonight, yep.
Okay, because I remember doing that this morning on Quick Hits. So I don't know who's going tomorrow night. We got Severino, Tanaka. Yankees should be favored in every game. Tanaka's, Nelson's could be a close line. But interesting series all around.
Yeah, it's a big one for the Yankees. I mean, they, especially like you said with the pitching matchups, they really need to win the first two for sure. They've been scuffling a little bit. Next series, the Astros, the Blue Jays. It started yesterday. Yesterday is in Thursday. Toronto beat Houston 7-4. For tonight and the weekend, you got Aaron Sanchez coming back versus Morton, who's also coming back. Stroman versus Fires. Happ versus Peacock. So some interesting matchups here. A couple guys coming off injuries. It's a big series for the Blue Jays. I mean, they got their doors. They literally got murdered by the Red Sox earlier this week. I mean, it really just wasn't good at all. They lost 5 straight. Now they've won 3 straight. The Astros are still rolling. I mean, it's great that they've gotten Morton back. That's an extra guy. They can maybe give a fake DL to McCullers again, and they still waiting for Keiko to come back. So, it's a bigger series for Toronto to kind of, they need to steal a couple series against some good teams. They didn't do it against Boston. They need to steal some series here against some good teams so that they can win those easy games, coming up later this summer.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing to me is you mentioned how Boston blew the doors off of them, but they went into New York and they looked really good. They looked like the team that made the run from dead that you claimed to contending again. And a lot of it had to do with their offense woke up. It's been really bad this year. We saw Baltimore go in there with like Gossman, Ubaldo, and Miley and shut them down in their own ballpark. But then last night, they beat up on McCullers, which was huge. If they can string together even 2 out of 3 of this last one, like you said, it shows they can beat teams that are contending. We already said Houston's the best team in the AL, maybe all of baseball. It's big. Tonight's an interesting game. Both guys, like you said, Morton and Sanchez coming off the DL. Fires has been outstanding of late. Can he keep it up against Stroman? Stroman struggled a little bit of late. That's an interesting one to me. And then Happ is actually pitched really well going up against Peacock, who's pitched better than he should. But that Houston offense for a long time now, at least a week straight, but overall the season as a whole has been crushing everybody. It doesn't matter what name is on the back of your jersey. They are hitting you. It's big series for Toronto. If they keep their bats going and be that Toronto offense that we've always expected, even without Edwin this year, which they should be fine because Smoke, like you said, Smoke, Morales, they're crushing it. Very interesting series for Toronto's future.
And just to mention with Toronto, and I'll kind of foreshadow some future episodes, coming up for the trade deadline here. Mark Shapiro, their president, came out and basically said, kind of the short end of the stick here, that they're probably not going to sell. They're not going to trade Donaldson, which is the big one. Estrada's expiring. A couple other guys are expiring. So it sounds like they're just going to stay the course and hope they go on and run, which they can, because if they can get Aaron Sanchez back, Happ pitches the way he's pitching, Stroman, and Estrada can give himself, he's playing for a contract. So if he can get himself back a little bit, I mean, they do have a chance to make a little bit of run, especially where the wild card is wide open, or at least the second wild card right now. The last series is my Red Sox at the Rays. They lost yesterday. It was Sale losing to Jacob Faria. Pitched really well. Sale pitched. He pitched well too. Couple missed locations there. Gave up a 2-run homer, but he still struck out 12 guys. I think he set the record for most 10 plus strikeouts in the first half, and I think he was behind Kurt Schilling in terms of strikeouts in the first half of the season for a Red Sox. So he's been awesome. The matchup starting tonight is Odorizzi versus Pomeranz, Cobb versus Porcello, and Archer versus Price, which I'll be honest, other than tonight, the way Pomeranz has been pitching, it's not great. It's not a good matchups for us. If I'm just hoping to split and get to the All-Star break, especially after losing yesterday. But if we lose 3 out of 4 here, they're going to pick up 2 games on us. They're right back in. They're only 5.5 out. I mean, they're right in that race for the division. If we get swept, ooh, baby, we got a race.
Yeah, it's a big series, Mo. It's my Tampa Bay Rays against your Boston Red Sox.
Good point.
So this is a big boy stuff here. Last night, Knox won to the good guys. But yeah, Pomeranz pitching really well of late. They should have the upper hand because the biggest thing with Odorizzi and even Cobb tomorrow night, they are so bipolar. It's either they go out there and throw a gym or they get blown up. You rarely see that intermediate where they still pick up the win, at least. Even if it's an intermediate, they seem to lose. So Cobb has pitched much better of late. I think he's got the upper hand on Porcello, who's definitely not a Cy Young candidate this year. But Price has looked better of late. I know it hurts. He has looked really good. Like that start in Texas was impressive.
Which is great.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do. That's what he's paid to do. But Chris Archer at home is an animal. It's going to be fun. Price versus Old Club versus Archer. I didn't look at the times. That would be a great Sunday night baseball game right there. Just throwing it out there, ESPN. I know you guys can't program your own stuff properly, so let me help you out here. That's a great baseball game. Yeah, this is big for Tampa. They already took 1. If they can take 2 or 3 over the weekend, take 3 out of 4 against the contender, one of the contenders, the leader in the division, big stuff.
Yeah, they it's been crazy to think that it's my Dodgers and your Rays. It's kind of funny how that works there, but yeah. Real quick, Bubba, to end the show here, who do you got in the All-Star game? I mean, not that you can predict it. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't count anymore, which is great. You don't know. I mean, now everyone's going to get in. You don't know what's going to happen there, but I mean, what do you got?
I have to use my bias to go National League. It's just what I have to do. But the American League's always loaded. I'm going National League still because I love their roster and I love their pitchers. The pitching in the National League I like a lot more, except they don't have a lot of relievers is the part that scares me. In the past when it mattered, you saw a lot more relievers. It's a lot of starters, but I'm going National League.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna go American League for that reason, not just my bias, because I don't, Bubba, that's just me. I don't have a bias. I can tell it how it is, no matter what my team is. I mean, just look at what I'm doing now with the Celtics and stuff. So I'm going AL. They have the most. They've got the Andrew Miller, the Davinsky. They've got those kind of hybrid relievers that can kind of go all over the place. And I like that a lot. It would make me feel better if Kluber was in the game as well. But I'm going AL. I mean, I guess it's just easy enough for us to go AL versus NL. Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll see the ratings part of it because, now that it doesn't count, I'm sure there won't be that much of a drop off because the same people are still going to watch it because it's like the worst sports TV week of the year, I believe it is, worst TV week of the year. So I'll have to find some things to do this week. But yeah, I can't believe we're halfway through the season, man.
Yep, halfway through it. Futures game on Sunday, Derby on Monday. All-Star Game Tuesday. Don't watch the ESPYs on Wednesday, and then we get baseball back eventually.
Yes.
I think Wednesday, actually, if you don't want to watch the ESPYs, if I remember correctly, usually Wednesday is the AAA All-Star Game on the MLB Network. If I remember correctly, it's usually when it is. Something worth watching.
Okay.
But with that being said, yeah, halfway through the season, episode 19 in the books. Any last words, Mo?
No last words here. Like I said, we'll get through the All-Star Game, and then we start talking trades. We start talking call-ups, and then we start talking, hopefully, tighter, not tighter, but the playoff picture gets together a little bit, and some teams decide, like Detroit has, that they're not going to be in it.
Yeah, the next few weeks we're going to dig into some of these trade talks. There's some big names already getting talked about, which will make some definite splashes around the league come postseason time. But that's for a later date. This was episode 19. Check us out on Twitter at AroundBasesPod. Rate, review, spread the word of the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. But most importantly, you can check out Mo at Boston_Mo. I am at BD Intric. And yeah, that'll do it. Episode 19 in the books. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll check you later.
Yep.